Hello and welcome to another exciting episode of Off the Clock. I'm your host, Sierra Jones. Today, I am excited to have attorney Kenny Cole and his beautiful wife, Jill, on the show with us today. We're going to get a glimpse of Kenny Cole's life outside of the courtroom, and Jill is going to show us a beautiful and amazing sweet summer salad for us today. Without further ado, Kenny, let's get you off the clock. Welcome back. Kenny, let's get right into it.
All right.
Who is Kenny Cole?
Ooh, boy. I think Jill would probably tell you that I'm a conundrum. I like to think of it more as I'm just a whole lot of different parts of what I was as I grew up. And to understand that, I guess the first thing I would tell you is that I was born at what at that point in time was called Fort Benning, Georgia. My dad was in the Army. He was airborne. And so I was born at the home of the airborne at Fort Benning, Georgia. And so I grew up as an Army brat. All my young life, I moved with my family from one Army base to another Army base as I was growing up. So, you know, what that did was it allowed me to be able to develop the ability to meet new people every time I moved to a new town, make friends, and to try to learn how to fit in where I was. So that's part of who I am. I would also say that as I got older, I became an athlete. And my biggest love was football. I played baseball, but my biggest love was football. And so a lot of people would look at me and they would say, well, gosh, Kenny's a jock. And you know, and a lot of people, you know, think of people being dumb jocks. Well, once again, I mean, academics were important to me as I grew up. So, you know, I was a good student, made good grades, and so, you know, I could handle it on the athletic fields, but I also, you know, thankfully could handle it in the classrooms as well. And then, of course, as I got older and moved through school, I ended up being a college football player. Once again, though, even though I was a middle linebacker in the SEC, I would say that I think I'm the only SEC middle linebacker who ever majored in English. And so, you know, I thought I was going to grow up and be a teacher and be a football coach. And as it turned out, I became an attorney. And of course, you know, a lot of people, they look at attorneys and they think of attorneys and they say, well, you know, those attorneys, they'll say anything they've got to say to get their point across or to win their case. And, you know, as I became an attorney, you know, I wanted to do it differently than that. I wanted to do it ethically, and I wanted to do it morally. And so, you know, I always tried to, as my dad would have put it, I always tried not to embarrass my mom as I was doing my legal work. And, you know, I guess the final thing I would say about who is Kenny is, and this is probably the most important part of it, I'm a husband, and I'm a father, and I'm learning now how to be a grandfather. And that's probably one of the most joyous things I've had in my life, is to go through that process and watch my children grow up, and now I'm beginning to watch my grandchildren grow up, and so now I get to be pops.
That's awesome. I'm going to ask you a little bit later about your grandkids, but you mentioned about being an English major.
Yes, ma'am.
And wanting to be a teacher and a football coach.
Right.
So what made you want to become a lawyer?
Well, you know, as I was finishing out my undergraduate work and majoring in English, and like I said, you know, I thought, well, I'm going to go back home maybe and, you know, be a teacher, coach football. I had met a gentleman. He was actually the brother of one of my classmates in college. He was an attorney, and he was the first attorney that I'd ever really known. He picked up on the fact that one of the things that I really liked to do was argue about stuff. And so he said, you know, Kenny, with your writing ability, with being able to speak in front of folks, in front of crowds and whatnot, and the way you like to argue, you really need to give some thought to going to law school. So that's what initially pointed me in that direction, and as time went on, I decided, you know what, maybe I can still do some coaching and some teaching in some way, but maybe law school was the way for me to go. And as it turned out, that was the right decision for me.
Yeah, sounds like it. And it is.
Yes, ma'am.
So going back, if you could go back to the first day on the job as attorney, what advice would you give your younger self to any new and upcoming lawyers out there?
I would tell anyone who wants to be an attorney, or at least who thinks they want to be an attorney, don't do it because you think you're going to go earn a bunch of money. That's not a good reason to become an attorney. It's not about trying to earn a bunch of money. I would tell someone who's thinking about law school, if you want to go help people, if you want to have a profession where you can make a difference in people's lives, then think about going to law school and becoming an attorney. Because, whether you're in an office practice where you're putting together business deals for people, or whether you do the type of work I do where I'm in the courtroom, we're constantly as attorneys trying to make a difference, a beneficial difference in the lives of our clients. And so, the people that I represent, they're people who need me to be their advocate. They need me to speak on their behalf when they don't have the ability or the power to speak. I tell people, and you've probably watched some of these shows on TV yourself, on National Geographic Channel, for instance, where you'll see the herd of elk running through the snow banks, and there's that pack of wolves running along behind them.
Yeah.
What are they trying to do? Those wolves are trying to pick off the weakest member of the herd. And as a lawyer, my clients are the weakest member of the herd. They're injured, they're hurt, and they need me to keep the wolves away from them when they need that help the most. And so I spend my time helping people, and so that's what I would tell young people that are looking at law school. If you want to help somebody, get into law school and come out of law school and be ready to make a difference.
Yeah, and the help that you just mentioned and flipping it back, as I see the V of Vandy on your shirt.
Yes, ma'am.
Even when you played, you had to help your teammates. And going back to that, in the game it is now, are there anything that you feel like that you would be able to compete with how the game has changed now? Or what do you think?
Well, I'll start out with this.
Okay.
When I was a young man and I was playing football, two of the drills that we did every day in practice were the Oklahoma drill and the bull in the ring. And if anybody out there watching this is familiar with football, they know that Oklahoma and bull in the ring are two of the most aggressive and violent pieces of practice that a football player can participate in. Folks joke that the Oklahoma drill has created more basketball players than anything else in the world.
I believe it.
So I say that to say this. The biggest problem I would have competing today on a football field is not getting thrown out of the game for targeting. Because back in our day, that's what you were taught to do. When you had that big lick, that big hit on some running back or some receiver that was crossing the middle of the field, buddy, the crowds went wild, the coaches went wild, and your teammates loved you.
Yeah.
If you do that today, you get flagged and you might miss half of the next game.
Yeah.
And so you got to be careful. Now, I'd also say this, I could adjust to the changes in the rules. That's what you do. You adjust and you adapt. But one of the things that would be difficult for me is when I played ball, I was playing middle linebacker in the SEC at 188 pounds. wide receivers weigh more than 188 pounds today. And so the size of the players over the years has changed dramatically. The speed of the game has changed dramatically. So, you can adapt to the rule changes. Some of those physical limitations, though, I look at the players today and I think, well, maybe not today.
Right?
So,
And they have more pads too.
yes,
They do.
ma'am.
Well, thank you so much for sharing. The first thing
Absolutely.
you said when I asked who is Kenny Cole, you mentioned your wife. So I'm excited to get her in here and hear more about how you guys met.
Absolutely.
We'll get back.
Hello Huntsville will be a weekly lifestyle audio and video podcast produced in studio and on location to showcase Huntsville's best activities, entertainment, neighborhoods, and all the opportunities that make the Rocket City one of the top cities to live in the nation. Cynthia Joyner will be the host. Hello Huntsville's primary audience will be adults who live, work, play, and innovate in the Huntsville metro area, and each episode will feature Cynthia in conversation with business owners, decision makers, elected officials, and some of the city's most compelling personalities telling the stories of her hometown. Whether you're local, new in town, or just passing through, Hello Huntsville will have something for you.
Girls are strong, smart, and bold.
Girls are strong, smart, courageous, and beautiful.
Girls are powerful.
Girls are all that and much more.
Girls Inc. has such a rich history of providing services to young girls in our community. For 50 years, we have been meeting the unique needs of girls, and from our humble beginnings, from a girls softball team, to all of the programs that we're able to offer the girls now, all of the partnerships that we have been able to form, and the community leaders that have come in to interact with our girls, we provide exposure and opportunity for young women in this community that would not otherwise have it if it was not a Girls Inc.
The greatest asset we have is our employees.
I'm very excited to welcome you to our new corporate website.
The National Space Club was founded as the National Rocket Club in 1957.
In North Alabama, we are extremely blessed.
True Tone will test your theory in everything, the good things and the bad things. In everything, give him thanks.
Why choose this as our goal? And they may well ask, why climb the highest mountain?
Hello Huntsville will be a weekly lifestyle audio and video podcast produced in studio and on location to showcase Huntsville's best activities, entertainment, neighborhoods, and all the opportunities that make the Rocket City one of the top cities to live in the nation. Cynthia Joyner will be the host. Hello Huntsville's primary audience will be adults who live, work, play, and innovate in the Huntsville metro area, and each episode will feature Cynthia in conversation with business owners, decision makers, elected officials, and some of the city's most compelling personalities telling the stories of her hometown. Whether you're local, new in town, or just passing through, Hello Huntsville will have something for you.
Welcome back. So Jill, when the first thing that I asked Kenny was, who is Kenny Cole? And the first thing he mentioned was what you would say about him. So I'm really excited to hear more about you two and your marriage. How long have you guys been married?
We just had our 20th anniversary in
wow.
April. Yeah, so 20 years.
And you mentioned too about grandkids. How many grandkids do you have?
We have 3 so far, 2 boys and a girl, and they are wonderful. They're all right here in Huntsville, so we're very lucky.
That's awesome. Is a rumor true what I hear about having grandkids is better than being a parent because you can kind of drop them off and...
Absolutely. Absolutely. Yes. The biggest difference, I would say, is 2 hours with grandkids. Oh my goodness, we're both exhausted, you know, at the end of the day. So, yeah, you can definitely tell the difference there, but we just love to spoil them and, you know, we hardly say no. Yeah. You know, so awesome. We can do that as grandparents, but you just can't do that as a parent.
Definitely not. Definitely not. Yeah. So tell me this, what is the secret? How have you sustained such a long marriage?
Well, I would say, you know, with Kenny's career, you know, he's of course busy in the office every day, but there are times when, you know, he's got something really big coming up, you know, if he's going to trial or, you know, some really big things going on. He's a very focused person. He's very intense. I think that's one of the things that played into his, you know, athletics and that kind of stuff. He's very focused and intense. And so during those times, I just know when to kind of back off. You know, he needs his space. He's very driven at that point. And that's when I step to the background and let him do his thing, have his time. And so I think that helps a lot. We kind of both know how that ebb and flow works a lot. And so I would say for me, that's how I've learned to keep it together.
And the support.
Yes, absolutely. Yeah. And he does the same with me. It's just my career's a little different. I take care of the things here. So
that's a very important career to have. The foundation.
Yes.
And then another question for you. So going into, you mentioned just about Kenny, but I would love to know what is the most romantic thing that he has done or that he does for you?
Well, okay, so he's probably not going to want me to say this.
Okay, I'm here for
it. I will say, you know, he said he's an English major, and so he does love to write. And although he's very intense, he's also got a huge heart. And so one thing he does is he writes a wonderful love letter. So every once in a while, he'll just, you know, leave a note or a card or something, you know, right by my sink or by the bed or wherever. And so I find that very romantic. I don't hear people doing that very often.
I'm a sucker for love letters. So yeah, I would like have a little box or something to save them all.
And I do. I know, I do. So that would be it for sure.
That is beautiful. Well, thank you so much for sharing, and I'm excited to get in the kitchen with you and see how you make that sweet summer salad.
Good. I hope you enjoy it.
Hello Huntsville will be a weekly lifestyle audio and video podcast produced in studio and on location to showcase Huntsville's best activities, entertainment, neighborhoods, and all the opportunities that make the Rocket City one of the top cities to live in the nation. Cynthia Joyner will be the host. Hello Huntsville's primary audience will be adults who live, work, play, and innovate in the Huntsville metro area, and each episode will feature Cynthia in conversation with business owners, decision makers, elected officials, and some of the city's most compelling personalities telling the stories of her hometown. Whether you're local, new in town, or just passing through, Hello Huntsville will have something for you.
greatest asset we have is our employees.
I'm very excited to welcome you to our new corporate website.
The National Space Club was founded as the National Rocket Club in 1957. In North Alabama, we are extremely blessed.
Truth Home will test your theory in everything, the good things and the bad things. In everything, give him thanks.
Why choose this as our goal? And they may well ask, why climb the highest mountain?
Girls are strong, smart, and bold.
Girls are strong, smart, courageous, and beautiful.
Girls are powerful. Girls are all that and much more.
Girls Inc. has such a rich history of providing services to young girls in our community. For 50 years, we have been meeting the unique needs of girls, and from our humble beginnings, from a girls softball team, to all of the programs that we're able to offer the girls now, all of the partnerships that we have been able to form, and the community leaders that have come in to interact with our girls, we provide exposure and opportunity for young women in this community that would not otherwise have it if it was not a Girls Inc.
Hello Huntsville will be a weekly lifestyle audio and video podcast produced in studio and on location to showcase Huntsville's best activities, entertainment, neighborhoods, and all the opportunities that make the Rocket City one of the top cities to live in the nation. Cynthia Joyner will be the host. Hello Huntsville's primary audience will be adults who live, work, play, and innovate in the Huntsville metro area, and each episode will feature Cynthia in conversation with business owners, decision makers, elected officials, and some of the city's most compelling personalities telling the stories of her hometown. Whether you're local, new in town, or just passing through, Hello Huntsville will have something for you.
Welcome back. Jill, I am excited. Will you teach us how to make this sweet summer salad?
Absolutely. So this is a salad that I found the recipe, but I kind of just tweaked it a little bit for us to make it my own recipe. You can really do all kinds of things with it. You can add your favorites. The main thing is really getting the fresh fruits and things that make it so sweet. But not only does it taste good, it also looks pretty in the bowl. You add all these pretty colors together. So I started with watermelon. We've got some strawberries. I like to use blackberries and some raspberries. We're going to top it off with a little goat cheese.
Are there any other fruits that we can add in there, like blueberries? Have you tried that? Or?
You know, I have tried blueberries, and I've also thought about using like a honeydew or maybe a cantaloupe. You know, any of those sweeter fruits that are just going to, you know, make you taste summer.
Yeah.
You know? So it's just become one of our favorites. So I'm going to drizzle a little balsamic glaze here. Adds a nice flavor to it. And then I'll top it off with some mint.
Now, is this normally like something you eat for lunch during the the day, or is this dinner? Is this a little snack?
You know, I'm partial to brunches.
Okay.
So we do a lot of those at our house. So it goes really well with a brunch or a lunch, you know, because it's a little bit lighter. So
yeah, it looks great.
Yeah. So you know, but you could just pop this out anytime, and it's going to be a nice, refreshing
It looks too
salad.
pretty to like eat.
Well, it's super simple. As you can see, it didn't take much at all. So there we have it.
Well, I can't wait to taste it. Well, Kenny, can you, so we've talked about your childhood, we talked about marriage. Can you tell us a little bit more about what you do right now with your law firm?
Sure, yeah. My law firm's name is Conchin, Cole, Jordan, and Sherrod.
Okay.
So we've got 5 attorneys there, and we do all trial work. I like to think of it as being civil prosecutors. We don't do any criminal work, but we represent clients who have been injured for the most part. And that can be cases where, you know, your typical car wreck case, or it can be a situation where some type of a dangerously designed product has injured somebody because it needs to be redesigned. And so we'll, you know, bring a lawsuit against those companies to try to force them to redesign their products, make them safer. So that's what we do for the most part. We also represent people against their insurance companies when their insurance companies won't pay a claim that they should pay. For instance, you know, a tornado hits your house and the insurance company tries to deny the claim. But I would also say this, you know, the folks out there can give us a call no matter what their legal issue is. If we can't handle it, we know all the other attorneys in North Alabama, and we'll get them into the right hands. Somebody that does the work that they need and somebody that they can trust.
Yeah. Wow, that's awesome. Well, thank you again for you guys' time today. It was an absolute pleasure. Join us next week when we bring you our next Off the Clock guest.